Yo, what is up YouTube? James Baek here, and welcome back to another post-tournament analysis of one of my matches from a tournament. This one is the Players Cup, an online tournament hosted by the Pokemon Company International. And today we have a match that was highly anticipated ever since I revealed it on Twitter. It was me versus Wolfe Glick, the rematch. So if you don't know, we actually played in the Players Cup Invitational, which was a pre-event for a spot in the original Players Cup. And yeah, we ended up facing, and I was able to win that one, so there were a lot of anticipation for the second one. And yeah, I was hoping it was going to be a good set regardless. It is unfortunate that me and Wolf did have to fight so early in the bracket. We actually had to play in the top 64 losers side, so whoever lost this actually got eliminated from the tournament, and then the winner would still have to win 7 bouts to advance to the top 4 of the main North American bracket. So this matchup was rough. I actually was practicing this matchup. If you don't know, all the Pokemon as well as the movesets as well as the items were revealed to us a week before, and yeah, we were able to prep for the match. The only thing we didn't know was the EV spreads. I prepped with a good friend of mine, Brady, who helped me out. Shout out to Brady for helping me with this match practice. And for me, we both agreed that the match was probably rough for me. It was probably negative in Wolf's favor. It was definitely in Wolf's favor. I felt like either slightly or potentially advantageously. I still think it's definitely a winnable matchup for sure. It's not like a terrible matchup. Maybe it's like 40-60 potentially, or maybe even 55-45 potentially. But yeah, so his team is going to be the Cinderace, Tyranitar, Rillaboom, Milotic, Incineroar, Dusclops. My team is the Tyranitar, Excadrill, Dragapult, Amoonguss, Rotom-Wash, and Arcanine. So I felt overall, me and Brady felt that Rillaboom, Milotic, Incineroar was really threatening to my team, and he would bring maybe one of the Cinderace or Tyranitar potentially in the last slot. So me and Brady felt that I could lead a combination of either Dragapult, Amoonguss, and Rotom-Wash. Any of those combinations would have worked, and I should have Arcanine in the back because the Rillaboom is the threat. We didn't like Tyranitar in this matchup or Excadrill in this matchup because we felt like it didn't do as much work, especially to the Milotic as well as the Choice Band Rillaboom, which was a huge threat because Wolf is running Choice Band Rillaboom. Is a huge threat to me. The Milotic does cover for the Arcanine, so yeah, there's a lot of different win cons that we have here. So let's get into it. We got Tyranitar as well as the Dragapult. Tyranitar plus the Dusclops lead, excuse me, as I lead Dragapult plus Rotom-Wash here. Not a lead that me and Brady were expected. We didn't actually expect Wolf to bring Dusclops in this game here. Pressure instead of Frisk, of course, because we already know the items from the information that we got. So here it's kind of an awkward spot because of the fact that Tyranitar puts on so much pressure, and the only way I can knock out the Dusclops and deny Trick Room is by going for Max Ghost here, as well as a double up in the Dusclops. But I could lose my Dynamax Mon right away if I do that. So I felt there was not really so much of a safe play that I had here because I probably had to risk, especially since he could just go for damage into Rotom. I could just go for a Lash Out with Tyranitar. I don't even think he had to Dynamax unless I went for Darts plus Hydro Pump in his Tyranitar, expecting him not to Dynamax and attack there, which is super risky. I felt like Amoonguss was just a good mid-ground play because if he does go for Trick Room, I do threaten him with the Spore here, as well as I could Phantom Force because I don't want to protect here in case he Dynamaxes and goes for damage into Dragapult, because I feel like Dragapult's Dynamax could be really good in the end game. So, or in the late game. So we do see the Tyranitar go for the Dynamax right away, so I did have a hunch I was correct because again, Dragon Darts and the Hydro Pump into Tyranitar could have just been super scary for the Tyranitar depending on that EV spread. So I felt like it was overall very safe here. The Tyranitar does Dynamax here, as I am going to go for the Phantom Force and hide away in this other dimension to help stall out the Trick Room turns. Potentially that is probably going to be coming out here. Max Darkness goes out into Dragapult in case I did Dynamax and go for the knock on the Dusclops. As Trick Room is up, the speeds are revealed here, which is really important. We revealed that Dusclops is actually the fastest thing under Trick Room, and it's really important actually because this Dusclops actually does carry Taunt. So Wolf's Dusclops set is Taunt, Nightshade, Protect, and Nightshade, Trick Room, Bulldoze, and Taunt. So it's a mind game here because he could go for Bulldoze as well as the Rockfall if he predicts my Amoonguss to protect here, because if he gets the Bulldoze off, he gets a lot of damage with Tyranitar, and then he could taunt the Amoonguss the following turn if he expects to protect. But I felt like if I protect here, it's probably better he goes for the weakness policy, besides him going for a taunt with Dusclops and getting a rockfall damage off into Amoonguss, and that would put me in an absolutely bad spot. So I felt like no matter what, I had to call this, and I felt like it was more likely he went for the taunt here than the Bulldoze, because it is super risky. If he does go for Bulldoze, then I go for the Spore just straight into Tyranitar, expecting the Bulldoze. So taunt does come out into the Amoonguss, fortunately, which puts me more in an even spot. He does go for the Max Knuckle though. This was a really good Max Knuckle from him, because this allows the Tyranitar to be a threat to +1, because potentially Rockfall could knock out the Amoonguss, depending again on the Tyranitar spread here. So that is pretty big as an attack rise for that Tyranitar. Phantom Force is going to come out, do about like 60% on this Dusclops. Since it doesn't have Pain Split on the Dusclops, he can't heal, which is pretty nice, because if I can put him in range of Dragon Darts, especially with the sand keep adding up over time, I'm going to be able to potentially win with Dragon Darts, Dragapult in the end game. So yeah, the point is to weaken all these Pokemon right here. I felt no matter what though, Amoonguss can't Rage Powder or Protect. I'm in an awkward spot if he does go for the taunt here. So I felt like going Arcanine here and just attempting the Spore is the best play here into the Tyranitar, because of the fact that Tyranitar at +1 just threatens everything on my team, unless I Dynamax Dragapult expecting a Rockfall. But I do not think that's a play for me. I feel like just taunt is a very safe play from Wolf, as well as a switch to Arcanine, because this Arcanine was expendable here, because I felt like if I had Dragapult plus maybe even Amoonguss, or at least I had one of Dragapult or Arcanine, I should be able to handle the Rillaboom. And since Dragapult can most likely knock out his Rillaboom with max Airstream, I felt like it was more valuable than Arcanine, who can maybe slow it down with Will-O-Wisp in an Intimidate combination. So he does go for the taunt here into the Amoonguss, as the Spore does fail because of the taunt. Rockfall comes out from the Tyranitar. Really good Rockfall. I was not actually anticipating the Rockfall. I was more expecting the Max Darkness, but that was a really good play from Wolf, because they knocked out the Dragapult where it was, and it would have just like been able to catch the Arcanine, of course, if I switched. Only play I could have made was probably like Dynamax Dragapult and switch on Arcanine, which is a really dangerous play, and I do not think I would risk that there. So now I'm in a really weird spot. I'm going to go Rotom, of course, because I can't really go in the Dragapult and Protect, because Max Darkness would do too much damage. I can Max Guard, but I don't think I want to utilize my Dynamax turns that way. But the Dynamax is over. The problem is there are 2 turns of Trick Room left, which is why I felt like Rotom first was okay, because he shouldn't be able to threaten knock out a Rotom immediately, unless he bulldozes Lash Outs the Rotom slot. But I felt like most likely he had Rillaboom in the back. So I feel like you might just go for the Amoonguss here, because you can knock out Amoonguss or Dragapult, because if you knock out one of those Pokemon, it allows Rillaboom to potentially clean up in the end game. So I felt like, okay, I feel like Bulldoze Lash Out is very safe into Amoonguss. He could go for Rock Slide, which I think would be a fair play too, because it kind of covers a bit of both, but he went knock on Amoonguss. So I felt like doubling up the Tyranitar is the best play, as he does go for the Bulldoze to activate that weakness policy on that Tyranitar, so it will be a +2 attack. And yeah, I'm hoping that maybe I can knock out the Tyranitar with the combination of Pollen Puff plus the Hydro Pump, which is what I am going to go for here. So the policy is raised on that Tyranitar, as Amoonguss and Tyranitar speed drops. I do go for the Pollen Puff here into the Tyranitar. And this Tyranitar is extremely bulky, because look at how little that damage that did. That did very little damage. I know it's not Stab Amoonguss, but that was really not much damage. Lash Out does come out into the Amoonguss, which I had a feeling which was going to. The Amoonguss goes down, and I go for the Hydro Pump. I do need to hit the Hydro Pump on the Tyranitar here, I felt like, because it was very unlikely Rotom would be able to be that much of a threat in this game if the Rillaboom is in the back. So I am not able to pick up a knock on Tyranitar, but the good thing is it is in Dragon Darts range. So I am going to be able to bring out the Dragapult once again. And yeah, I could double protect here to stall out the last turn of Trick Room. I felt like Wolf was going to switch on to Rillaboom though, and just attack with Tyranitar, but this is the weird part. I know he's going to make that play, but the problem is I can't risk it. I can't risk him going for Lash Out, predicting no Protect here, and then I would just lose the game. So even though I kind of want to go for it, if there's a chance he goes for Lash Out into the Rotom, it's a really bad spot, assuming that he thinks that I'm gonna expect him to target the Dragapult Protect there and aggressively play with Rotom. I don't think it's worth it there, because if he lashes out the Rotom, and I would just probably just straight up lose. So yeah, I know that Rillaboom's most likely coming out because he wouldn't stay in with Dusclops here. The reason he wouldn't stay in Dusclops in this position is because both Pokemon are threatened by Dragon Darts the following turn, and it really doesn't make sense just to really stay in. I think Dusclops can be a potential win condition if he can get Trick him up for his Pokemon once again, especially against this Dragapult. I still have Dynamax available to me, so I do protect my Rotom here as we do double protect with the Dragapult, and we'll see the Tyranitar go for that lash out into the Dragapult because it was a threat. So here is an interesting play. I go for the Nasty Plot here, I believe, as well as the Dragon Darts here. The reason I make this play is because of the fact that Rillaboom has two options: Grassy Glide into Rotom, or is going to go for a knockoff into my Dragapult for a hard read here. And I felt like, okay, I feel like Dragon Darts knocks out Tyranitar at that range, gets some chip on the Rillaboom, and if he goes for the knockoff play, Rotom is at +2. If I can, and with the Darts damage, Dynamax, I should be able to knock out the Rillaboom since it's Choice Bandit and not Assault Vest. And yeah, I don't want to Dynamax yet. I could go for the double Rotom if I expect a Grassy Glide, but I don't think it's really worth it in this position. Because again, if he does go for the hard knockoff play, that is going to knock out my Dragapult. I do think Darts is the right play here. I don't think I can really afford to max Dragon here because I kind of need the spread damage because he does have some threats in the back. I do need pressure, especially since I'm thinking his last Pokemon's Incineroar here. So yeah, we do see the protect from the Tyranitar as the Grassy Glide does come out into my Rotom, so it does pick up a knockout. But since he protects the Tyranitar, I'm actually going to be able to get 2 Dragon Darts off into Rillaboom, and I'm really hoping that 3 hits on the Rillaboom can knock it out after the even after the Grassy Terrain heal. So Darts does do a lot of damage because Life of Dragapult is quite insane. And now both his Pokemon are in range of Dragon Darts. In fact, 3 of his Pokemon are in range of Dragon Darts, and the only Pokemon that isn't in range is the last Pokemon in the back. And I'm assuming it is going to be that Incineroar because that's how I felt like he was building it up to. If it was Cinderace, I probably just won here. So yeah, I'm gonna go for the Dragon Darts right here. Actually no, if he had Cinderace, actually it was Sucker Punch endgame anyway because he would just get a life up Sucker Punch. So like, yeah, that actually would have been bad. But no matter what, like I had to go for Darts here. Darts was the safest play regardless. It knocked out both Pokemon here. He would have to reposition. I felt like maybe one of these switch. I felt like Tyranitar switched in Incineroar and as well as just a Grassy Glide here for damage, and I think that is what comes out here. Like that's what I pretty much anticipated because I think Wolf could go for maybe an end game situation of trying to get Trick Room up, and that could potentially screw me over. So the Tyranitar does retreat, Incineroar does come out, which I'm not surprised about. And yeah, it is a little bit of a strange position as Clear Body. So Intimidate doesn't affect me. Grassy Glide comes out, and this Choice Band of Rillaboom just does so much damage. Like I'm surprised it did that much to Dragapult. It did a bit more than I expected. So Dragon Darts is going to come out, chip away at the Incineroar, which I think puts it in max Dragon range even after the Grassy Terrain. I'm not exactly 100% sure, but I felt like it does because like max Dragon from Dragapult just does so much damage in general. So I wasn't exactly sure, but I felt like it was. But I might have been off on the math there. Yeah, so this is an interesting position. Tyranitar is going to come out. It does make sense because of the fact that it does threaten with the lash out, and also if he brought out Dusclops there, it could have been awkward because I just target down the Dusclops slot and then you just lose the game. So he was forced to bring out Tyranitar. Also brings out the Sand, so I can't heal from the Grassy Terrain, and negates the Grassy Terrain healing me. And now I have to make a decision. Okay, does he protect or does he go for the, like, does he protect or does he just attack here? And I had to make this right because if I target Incineroar and he protects, I lose because I don't think Max Dragon actually knocked out the Tyranitar at that range because it seemed like he was super bulky on Tyranitar. So I felt like, okay, I'm going to target the Incineroar because if I can touch the Incineroar and knock it out, that means I should be in an okay spot because I don't want to risk Max Dragon KOing, not KOing the Tyranitar because if it does, I'm pretty sure I lose because he's able to get chip damage on me with Flare Blitz. And that would have been pretty bad, especially if he got a burn. So we do see that the Tyranitar does go for the protect here as it does, and I am going to be able to get the Max Dragon off. So I do get this play right, but the problem is I do have to get another play right, unfortunately. I was also doing some math in my head because it also came down to potentially Dusclops. If it had Nightshade potential, it could have been a problem. Get the critical hit again. I do not know if that actually mattered onto Incineroar. I might have. I'm not exactly too sure. But I was doing some math in my head. I was like paying attention to the life orb plus the sand damage. And what I noticed is that I should be able to live Nightshade plus sand damage, which is actually really important in that situation. But yeah, Dusclops comes in. I felt like I was out of range, so this was a weird spot because Max Dragon again doesn't KO the Tyranitar through Protect, and if it did last turn, it definitely won't this turn because the grassy terrain healing. I want to go for the call that Wolf goes for the double Protect as well as the Trick Room because I felt like that was a potential win con. And yeah, unfortunately, I do not get it. He doesn't Protect here, and I am going to be able to lose because if I was able to catch the Tyranitar there, I do knock it out. If he goes for Nightshade, it doesn't matter because of the fact that I'm actually going to be out of range for the sand, and I'm able to knock. I'm at like at 2 HP after the Nightshade plus sand damage, and then I'd be able to finish up the Dusclops and win the game. So wasn't exactly sure, but I had to call that either way, I felt like. And yeah, unfortunately, I just got the call wrong. And yeah, again, I didn't know if, obviously I knew there was no ally switch, but I just didn't know if he was going to go for the double protect potentially, or if he was just going to go for the attack there. Unfortunately, I get the call wrong, but I don't think it was a bad call to make for me. Yeah, I don't think it was like that bad of a call. I felt like it was pretty reasonable. So yeah, again, it was pretty tough. I did take a lot more damage than I thought with the thing, and maybe Max Dragon did KO to protect, and I was just like pretty wrong with my calcs at the time, so I wasn't exactly too sure. The only thing I was really paying attention to was the sand and life orb chip because that did matter in the end game. But yeah, so that is going to be the end of that first game. And yeah, actually I probably could have lost too, even if I did get that read, depending on what Wolf did. I don't know if he went for Nightshade or Trick Room there. If he went for Trick Room, I actually might have lost because I think Grassy Terrain ended that turn, and then he would be able to Nightshade me. Yeah, because I think the sand, because I wouldn't get the healing from the sand. Actually, no, I think I would have been fine still. No, I would have been fine. Yeah. So game 2, felt like Wolf had options to switch up, and I definitely had options to switch up myself. I felt like just going Dragapult Amoonguss would have been fine here, because this was a lead I mainly did against Brady, and it was pretty useful in testing. I felt like I did have to make some aggressive reads, and that's kind of the matchup here. Again, I don't think the matchup's that great because it is Choice Band Riolu specifically. If it wasn't Choice Band, it'd make this matchup probably a lot easier because it just dredges my Rotom with a 1 KO, which is a problem, like every time. So and I can't really intimidate the Rillaboom if he has the Milotic around protecting it. So it was pretty rough here. I felt like Dragapult Amoonguss was just a very safe lead. I might have to make an aggressive play or two, but it's definitely doable. I did feel like Amoonguss might have been just a safer lead in general. Reason I didn't want to lead Amoonguss also in game 1 was because of the fact that there was the... Even if I thought he wouldn't bring Dusclops, I wasn't sure if the Dusclops was faster than my Amoonguss, because if his Dusclops had investment in speed, was able to go for a taunt before I could spore the Dusclops outside of Trick Room, it made the Amoonguss useless and it would have put me in a bad spot. So that's the main reason, because he could have got Trick Room up. That's the main reason I didn't lead Amoonguss in the first game. And I felt like the second game, a different adjustment here. So we got Cinderace Milotic, and I have Dragapult Amoonguss. I felt like maybe I read a bit too much into this. I was worried about him going for Sucker Punch, even helping hand Sucker Punch into Dragapult. The reason is because of the fact that if he trades Cinderace for the Dragapult, which was a big threat to him in the game 1, and you know, I just spore Cinderace that doesn't Dynamax, I'm in a really weird spot. And I felt like if he went for Helping Hand Max Airstream as an option, I should be able to live because I am the Cobra Berry Amoonguss set. So I felt like if we went for that, I have a pretty good chance to survive anyway. So I should be able to just get a Spore off into the Cinderace slot. That'd be good. But he does Dynamax here, so I did get the turn wrong. But I felt like as long as I got the Spore off in the Cinderace, it should be okay-ish. It wasn't exactly the best spot, but it's definitely okay-ish. Helping Hand comes out from the Milotic, so definitely going to go for the Airstream here. I don't really think you would go for Darkness in this situation into the Dragapult. As we do see the Max Airstream come out, Libero changing its type as the Cobra Berry activates. And the question is, does Amoonguss survive? The Max Airstream Helping Hand boosted with the Cobra Berry, and you know what? It does on 5 HP because Eduardo Cunha is a god at making spreads. So Shout outs Eduardo Cunha for the Amoonguss spread, as the speed, you know, is increased on both of these Pokemon. I am able to get the Spore off, and that's huge. That waste potentially, that guarantees 1 wasted turn of Dynamax for him, as well as potentially 2. And if I get 3 turns of sleep, that's amazing for me. Right here, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get chip damage onto this team, because the worst he can really do to my Dragapult is really Icy Wind here. And I'm just gonna go for darts for chip, because just getting the chip is really nice. It chipping away to my Milotic makes it easier for my Rotom to just Fundable KO it. I don't even have to set up. Having regenerated for Amoonguss is really nice here too, because Amoonguss could be useful in the end game. And yeah, I definitely want to keep the Pokemon count around, especially since I don't want to send an Arcanine when this Milotic's on the field. He goes for Skull, trying to fish for a burn, which is not what I expected immediately. Doesn't get it, as Darts does come out. It does crit the Cinderace, which does a bit matter, as Dragon Darts is able to get a good amount of damage to Milotic, like a really solid amount here. Now, I did not want to play Sleep Turns. So I just go for the Protect here. I'm like debating whether I go into Amoonguss potentially, or do I just go for the Protect here. I think I just go for Protect, and I am going to go for a T-Bolt actually in the Cinderace, because like Cinderace is still a threat. Like Cinderace is a pretty big threat to my team regardless, because of the fact that a high jump kick can still threaten the Rotom. I don't think it's going to go for like a Max Knuckle or maybe Helping Hand Max Darkness or anything. I think he's just going to make a probably like maybe an Airstream play in the Dragapult if he does. It does stay asleep here. Icy Wind is going to come out and, you know, slow down my Rotom, but it doesn't really change too much, because I'm pretty much not going to be outspeeding the Milotic. Also, a thing about the previous turn is that we learned that the Milotic does outspeed my Dragapult, and that requires Timid nearly max speed. So I do find out his Milotic's like almost near max speed, which is pretty important. The Cinderace Dynamax is over, as it took 2 turns of sleep here, and right here I felt like, okay, I'm worried about Sucker Punch. I'm going to Amoonguss. Felt like Amoonguss was safe here, and I think I just went for the Nasty Plot so I can threaten the Milotic. I was pretty sure that Thunderbolt wouldn't knock out the Milotic at that range, because of the fact that Milotic has really high special defense and probably has like maybe near max HP, because the damage it's been doing has been pretty poor in general, even if the moves haven't been that very effective. So I go for Nasty Plot because I can pressure the Rillaboom coming in potentially and forcing it to Grassy Glide in the situation. I'm going to save my Dragapult because I know that Airstream is a potential win con, as I do go the Amoonguss there as Cinderace comes out. Iron Head comes out from the Cinderace into the Amoonguss slot, which was the Dragapult. So the Cinderace took 2 turns, which is fine, as the Life Orb is able to knock out the Cinderace, which is why the Darts crit might have mattered. And we do see that the Milotic does go for the Scald here into the Rotom, but that is completely fine because it's not doing that much damage. And I am going to be able to get a Nasty Plot up with my Rotom. So I'm at +2 special attack with the Rotom, and now I know he's forced to bring out the Rillaboom. And I'm going to go my Dragapult here, as I do threaten with the Airstream as the Rillaboom does come out. And yeah, this is kind of the turn. His Milotic again with the +1 speed, it does matter that he's like timid, almost near max speed, because of the fact, or maybe even max speed, is because of the fact that if he does go for the Scald and gets the burn, I do lose the game. And I think he has to target with Rillaboom here, because if Rotom gets an attack here into Milotic, he just loses the game. So yeah, especially since I think he has Incineroar in the back. Like, I'm pretty confident he has Incineroar in the back at this point. So I am going to Dynamax my Dragapult here and hope for the KO onto the Rillaboom. And yeah, being able to KO the Rillaboom here, I think, again, just seals it up, because Max Airstream Life Orb boosted should be able to knock out the Rillaboom, especially with how much Darts did in the previous game. So yeah, it just comes down to the burn here. So he stays in with Rillaboom. If he doubled in Incineroar, it could have changed things quite big there. But we do see the Grassy Glide come out into the Rotom, and then we do see the Scald from the Milotic. And the question is, does it burn or does it not burn? But as you might suspect, it does get the burn here. He did go for 3 Scalds. If he burned a Rotom, it didn't matter. So really, Dragapult was the big key there. And then Airstream does come out into the Rillaboom and does 60%. And as you can see, without the burn, it would have just KO'd the Rillaboom. But of course, with the burn, the Rillaboom was able to survive. And now I'm in a really awkward spot, because Grass Glide will be able to outspeed or be able to move first, KO the Rotom. So I have to make a decision here. So if I get rid of Rillaboom, Rotom wins in the back. I think I'm gonna make the Arcanine play. I just didn't know if Wolf was gonna preserve the Rillaboom, or he was just gonna go for the Grassy Glide and hope I didn't get a double protect or switch. Because if I knock out his Rillaboom and I preserve Rotom, I do win the game most likely against his Incineroar most likely in the back, what I was assuming, and I beat the Milotic because he can't damage the Rotom. But he does conserve the Rillaboom, which is smart play because I do try to conserve my Rotom here. If I needed to make a play to get back in this game, I think I should have went for the double protect, because if he did stay in, I had a chance to basically avoid the Grassy Glide and just knock out the Rillaboom. And if I didn't get it and he did switch out, I just won. So like, no matter what, I did have a good chance of, I had a shot of winning no matter which situation he did. Instead, I decided to commit to one, and it didn't exactly work out because Airstream into the Incineroar doesn't really do much damage, but at this point it's looking really, really rough in the back for me to win. As the Milotic, he even makes the hard commitment read and goes for the Scald into the Arcanine, which was a really good call. It was a really good call. I would have had to go an extra step here, I think, in the thought process behind this for me to get into this game and call that. So really well played turn from Wolf. And now I'm in a really deep foot. I mean, it is technically winnable for me. It really just comes down to a few certain factors. I felt like I'm gonna need probably an Icy Wind dodge here with the Dragapult and some things to go my way. So what I need to go in my way, I think, is like getting an Airstream off into the Milotic slot. His Milotic is Citrus Berry, and yeah, his Milotic Citrus Berry, so I can't activate the Citrus Berry. I have to hope that Airstream puts it just a bit above Citrus Berry range, and then Rotom can knock it out with Thunderbolt afterward. And I'm probably gonna have to dodge the Icy Wind because I can't take too much damage with Dragapult, and maybe I could win the game against the Rillaboom potentially afterward with a Fly endgame. So Fake Out does come out on a Rotom. I don't want to take the Fake Out damage, and the Icy Wind does matter potentially. I do get the Airstream off into the Milotic, and unfortunately Dragapult a little bit too strong. The Milotic, not exactly the bulkiest thing in the world, just takes the Airstream not so well to where Citrus Berry is going to be able to heal it back. Now I'm like, okay, this is pretty much a wrap here, I think. As an Icy Wind does come out, but the Icy Wind, it does go for the connect here. But here's the thing, I actually thought it would have done more, but then again, it is a really weak move, and the Milotic doesn't have special attack investment most likely. So Dynamax is over, and this is the turn I remember looking back and was 100% this was the wrong play that I made, or I made half of a right play here. So Dragapult's Dynamax is over, and here the win con for me is I think I go for Fly because I'm hoping that the Incineroar parting shots and for some reason is able to stays in with the Rillaboom, and yeah, and maybe I can snipe the Rillaboom. That is not 100, that is half of a correct play. I think here I go for Nasty Plot because I felt like my win con here when I was doing the battle was Nasty Plotting, hope my Rotom's faster than the Rillaboom, stall out the grassy terrain so he doesn't have the priority, and then I can knock it out potentially with Hydro Pump or Thunderbolt at the range. Probably knocked it out. That was not the right play, actually. The right play here would have been to go for the Hydro Pump crit into the Incineroar, or even hope that Thunderbolt either knocked out Milotic or got a crit into the Milotic if it doesn't knock out naturally, because I would have been able to pin the Rillaboom next turn by going for the, if I got a knockout here, it forced the Rillaboom in that slot, well, I would have been able to knock out the Rillaboom most likely, and then I could just protect Rotom on the Grassy Glide, and Rotom can beat the other Pokemon 1v2. So that would have been the correct play, but unfortunately I did make the Nasty Plot play. Again, the thought process here wasn't exactly a good one. While I was looking at it, I think I felt like the game was over at this point, but looking back at it, I did have a chance to win. So yeah, this was something that was the big turn I think I messed up. I think I messed up like 3 turns potentially, where I could have maybe done something better, but yeah, I think this one was like the absolute biggest mistake that I made here. And yeah, like there's not really a chance of winning here. I go for the Fly, it is able to knock out the Incineroar. I think I go for Hydro Pump into Incineroar, which probably doesn't even make sense when you think about it. Icy Wind comes out. I think I should have even Thunderbolted the Milotic because yeah, I was +1 speed with the Rotom, but now I'm neutral speed. The Milotic's faster than my Rotoms. Could Icy Wind as well, my Rotom slot, even after, like, if I'm somehow able to stall out the grassy terrain. and threatened to Rillaboom. Like, there was so much fighting here, and then he burning jealousies doesn't really change much. But I know that the Rillaboom in the back just pretty much destroys me because I don't have a win con at this point. He has too many Pokemon to deal with. I need a knockout there. And the grassy terrain disappeared this turn, which was also bad because of the fact that I would have needed to stall out the grassy terrain anyway. So I know the game's over because he resets grassy terrain, can grassy glide, and just seal up the game. So, and even just ice, he could even just icy move Milotic. So yeah, that was the downfall there. I felt like no matter what, it wasn't a badly played game from me, or badly played set from me. I was actually pretty satisfied with the set overall. I felt the matchup was a little bit rough, but overall I do realize that I could have played better, especially when I was looking at this game earlier preparing for this video. I definitely noticed some mistakes there. One, I didn't notice how low the Tyranitar was, so maybe it was potentially worth it to go for the Max Dragon into Tyranitar to protect, and maybe it would have actually been able to make a difference, maybe depending on the set. But yeah, I think it might have been. The second mistake, and that was game one, the second mistake was especially going for the I think the second mistake was going for the Dynamax with Pole Game too. Actually, in that turn, that one turn, I think it actually could have been a lot different in that situation. So the situation, of course, going back was going to be the Dragapult Rotom-Wash versus the Rillaboom plus the Milotic there. And the Milotic had to go for the Scald Burn, right? Because if I did go for the Airstream like I did and knocked out Rillaboom, it was a really bad situation for him. So actually what I think I could have done here, assuming that there is no crit, what I could have done actually was Dynamax the Rotom-Wash. And if I Dynamax the Rotom-Wash, I live Grassy Glide from the Rillaboom. I'm able to OHKO to Milotic with Max Lightning. I'm able to get rid of the terrain and the grassy terrain, and then I would have been in a really good spot with potentially Arcanine in the back. But I think that would have been good. I could have maybe switched out yeah, I think that would have just been like really solid there. I could have also switched into Instant for the Dragapult. If it could have been a switch to Arcanine with the Dragapult, I could have protected as well. I think both were fine. I think even if I lose Arcanine to the Scald on the switch, like I got the Intimidate off, I got rid of this terrain, so maybe Rotom after the Citrus Berry can live another Grassy Glide, and then like I'd be put in an amazing spot because I know Grassy Glide won't KO the Rotom at the range of that, so unless he got a crit. So instead, that would have been better because of course the Scald Burn, there's 30% chance, and I know he had to attack with Milotic there. There was pretty much no situation where you could really afford not to target with Milotic. So looking back at it, I think the Dynamax Rotom would have been better because I think I would just live Grassy Glide and again be able to knock out the Milotic. And once I do, I'm in a really good spot, I felt like. So instead of risking that 30% chance burn, it was better. And then the following one was not going for the crits, especially the crit endgame. Like I did have an out there, it was critting the Incineroar or going for a crit Thunderbolt into the Milotic and doubling up with the Fly, because then I could have won the game if I'm able to snipe the Rillaboom potentially. So looking back at the game, there were definitely some things that I could definitely have done better. So yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with that match. I hope everyone enjoyed the post commentary analysis, and I had a lot of questions about like what was going through in my head, why I made these plays, and I hope this video kind of clarified it for anyone who was trying to wonder what I was trying to do in this game. I do think it was pretty tough, but overall it was definitely a winnable matchup. Wolf played super well as well. If you want to check out his channel, I will of course link it down below, and if he does upload his side of the battle, which I think he did record, I'll put it down below when it's available. So if you did enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like down below, especially leaving a comment down below and sharing this video with friends. Always is a great way to support me. If you want to support my content even further, you could go to my Patreon page, but that is not necessary as there are free ways to support me. Again, leave a like down below, leave a comment down below, and sharing this video with your friends are great ways to support me. You could also check me out on my Twitch channel. I do stream VGC and a bunch of other variety games. Highly recommend go check it out. Link in the description down below. And yeah, if you want to go check out Wolf, of course, you could go check him out. I'll link his stuff down below in the description as well as a pretty much you can check out my community Discord as well. That was the one I was forgetting. I was trying to remember what I was trying to promote. And yeah, you can check out my community Discord if you want to join an awesome community, get some help in VGC. We do some team building help and a bunch of other stuff, and talk about anime and food and a bunch of other stuff. So if you do want to go check that out, you can check it out down below in the description. But otherwise, that's going to be pretty much it. Let me know any feedback you have about my post commentary and if you do enjoy these videos. But otherwise, yeah, that's going to be pretty much it. Have a great day, people, and until we battle again, I'll catch y'all later.